Hey everybody, Davey here from Davey's World Fishing. Today I'm going to talk about alternate ways to rig your brand new FishLab Mayfly Nymph baits. Stay tuned. Now you may have seen my other video on the Mayfly Nymph where I ran through these guys component by component. I'll put a description down below there. There's a couple different ways to rig these baits. They're actually designed as punching baits, so you're going to do your standard punch rig where you got your weight up top with the bobber stop, buried hook, and you're actually going to flip this and punch it down through the weeds for largemouth bass. Down in Southern California, I mentioned in my video I like to fish these guys for sand bass and spotted bay bass a lot, and I'm going to show you those riggings. Of course you can do your punch rig if you want as well, but there's some just easier standard ways to rig these guys. Just to give you a kind of brief overview on these guys, what I like about these dudes is you can see here these little wings up on top there. Each one of those has a really cool little paddle tail. So when this guy swims up, it actually kicks those little fins up. When it goes back down, it kicks back down. Gives it a lot of secondary movement. Really, really cool baits. Now, a couple of the ways I like to rig these for spotties is I like to use a standard football jig. That's your standard football head jig style, and that's a weedless version there. And if you can tell here, but what I like to do is I'll actually rig it upside down so the wings are down below the bait. What happens there, if you rig it standard, so if you rig it this way, with the wings up on the top, a lot of times those wings are going to get caught up in the weedless guard or on the hook. Not that it's a huge issue, but it just can slow down and minimize a little bit of that action. If you do rig it upside down, these guys are still kicking on their way up and then kicking on the way down. Gives it a lot of freedom of movement. But if you're fishing along docks, if you're fishing along pilings, you can throw that guy right in there and it's going to swim its way down, swim its way back up, and you get a lot of big strikes from those big spotties. The other way I like to do it, this is a swinging football jig head. I think this is a Jean LaRue swinging jig head there, as you can see. But it's also got it so it's rigged weedless. So that hook there is buried into the body. So when it gets bit, that fish bites down, that hook becomes exposed. So with this style, there's nothing up on the top to actually limit the movement of those wings. So being rigged weedless like that, I can bury it right in, I can put the wings right on top, and with that swinging style jig head, this gives it all kinds of extra freedom of movement as it's on its way down. So it can do what it needs to do. It's not hindered by the way it's stuck to the jig head, but it can freely get its way down. It'll kick its way down, kick its way up, move side to side, whatever it happens to do. If you're bouncing this guy along the bottom, you can also get a lot of side-to-side movement with that kicking. So when you're fishing this, pitch it in towards your docks. I like to fish this style deep into the docks. So throw it into the docks, raise it up, wind it down. Raise it up, wind it down. And as that's doing, it's pitching, it's moving, it's going to come up, swim up, go back down. It'll bounce along the bottom and give it a lot of extra movement. That's just two ways I like to rig that new Flutter Nymph from FishLab. Really cool baits. You got to check them out, especially if you're a spotted bay bass, harbor type fisherman. Fishing the Long Beach break wall, fish this guy as well. Don't be worried about throwing that into the deep kelp or bounce that down along the rocks as well. But I appreciate y'all checking in. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below and subscribe to Davey's World Fishing up at that right hand corner. See you on the water.